We can top of Daf Yud Ches Amid Beis in Meseches Sotah. This is Sotah Daf 18b. The Mishnah is continuing to explain when the woman says Amen, Amen to the Shua. What is she saying Amen to? She's saying V'shomeres Yavam Ukanusa. She's also saying that she did not commit adultery while she was Shomeres Yavam, while she was awaiting Yavam, and also while she was married to the Yavam. Rashi says Shomeres Yavam Ukanusa V'imhaisa Yivimto V'kin. So let's say the case is where we're talking about her brother-in-law, and he married her V'kinela, and then he warns her V'nistra, and she goes into seclusion. Megalgel Aleh Shvua. So then there's a Gilgul Shvua Shelo Nitzmes Kishi Shomeres Yavam, that she was not defiled even before they actually got married. Even when she was just awaiting Yivam, she's saying Amen to that as well. Shomeres Yavam Etzabum Amtenes Liyavam Sheyivmena. A Shomeres Yavam is a woman who's waiting for her brother-in-law to do a Yivam. Kimova Aviv Shamar Es Hadavar, the same way we use the word Shamar in the pasuk V'Aviv Shamar Es Hadavar Lo Sishma Chatasi. So that also is included in the Amen. Amen shalom nitzmesi vim nitzmesi avovi. And then further the Mishnah says, she says, Amen that I was not defiled. And if I was defiled, the waters should enter me. Rashi says on that, Amen shalom nitzmesi hainu kabbalas shvua. That's the acceptance of the oath. Vim nitzmesi avovi. And then if I am defiled, so then the water should enter me. Hainu kabbalas Allah. That's an acceptance of the curse. Kederech sheishbia. In the same fashion that he gave her the oath in the first place. Kedamar le'el b'gemar, like we said earlier in the Gemara Amud Aleph, about the oath and the oath of the curse. Mashbieni olayach shalom nitzmis. Again, he says that I'm making an oath on you that you were not defiled. V'im nitmis yavovach. And if you were defiled, then the water should enter you. V'hainu perushu da'amin ala shvua, amin ala ola detanya bereisha. This is really an explanation of what it means that she's saying amin on the shvua and amin on the ola. This is an explanation of that idea. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Meir says, Amen shalom nitzmesi. When she says Amen, she's saying Amen that I was not defiled in the past tense, and Amen shalom etzma. And furthermore, Amen that I will not be defiled in the future. Rashi says, Amen shalom etzma shim titma la'achar zman. Means to say, let's say she commits adultery later on, she's defiled later on. Ma'im ma'arin osa la'achar shetitma kedetanya b'braisa. When the Gemara will explain later, the Gemara and the Bryce and the Gemara will explain, the waters will then, at that point in time later, when she actually commits the adultery, they will punish her at that point in time. And the Mishnah continues, Hakol Shav, and everybody agrees, She'ein Masne Ima, Lo Al Kodem Shetesares, that he can't make a condition with her. The waters cannot test her on what she did before the Erison, before she was betrothed. Velo Al Achar Sheteskarish, and also the waters can't test her on anything that happened after he divorces her. Rashi says, Velo Al Achar Sheteskarish means Va'afilu Rabbi Meir, De'amar Masna Al Asid, even according to Rabbi Meir, who says that a condition can be made on the future, but it cannot be made for something that happens after the time of the divorce. And the Mishnah continues, Nistera le'echad v'nitmis. Let's say she goes into seclusion with a person and she's defiled. V'achar kach echzira, and then he remarries her. So in other words, this all happens between the two marriages. He's married her, he divorces her. In that interim, she's with someone else, and then he takes her back. So lo hayamasna ima. He can't make a condition on that eventuality either. Rashi says, "V'nitmis b'geirusha de'eino neseres olav lachzer lo." The idea over here is that if a husband divorces his wife, and in the interim she commits znus, so she actually is not prohibited to him. Elam kein nisas al yedei kedushin. The only time she becomes prohibited, a husband cannot remarry his wife if in the interim she actually married someone else. But if she just had relations with someone else, that's not enough. When the pasuk says that the first husband is not allowed to marry her again after he divorces her, that's only after she actually had kedushin and nisuin with someone else. Like it says in the pasuk that she was to another man, meaning she married the other man. But if all that happened was she had relations with another man, so that's not going to be enough. That's why that's not included. He can't make a condition on that act of znus. And the Mishnah explains, Zahaklal, this is the rule. Kol shetiboil v'lo haisa asura lo hayamasna ima. Any act of relations which doesn't create a prohibition upon him, meaning she's not prohibited to him, to the husband, so he can't make a condition on that act of relations. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Hamnuna says, Shomeres yavam shazinsa. Let's say you have a woman who's awaiting yibam, and she commits adultery, she has nus, asura liyavama. She then becomes prohibited to the yavama, she becomes prohibited to her brother-in-law. And the Gemara continues, Mimai. From where do we see that this is the case? We see this from our Mishnah. Midiktani shomeres yavam ukanusa. Because what does it say in the Mishnah? It says that when he gives her to drink, when he administers to her the oath, so she's even saying that that there was no znus while she was shomeres yavam. And so therefore that only makes sense if having znus at that time creates a prohibition. So if you're going to say again that creates a prohibition, that if there's znus at that time, so then she's prohibited to the yavam. So for that reason, he's able to include that within the condition of the oath. But if you're going to say that that doesn't create a prohibition, how is that included? How is that included in as one of the conditions in the oath? But we learned in our Mishnah, this is the rule. Anytime where the act of relations doesn't create a prohibition to him, that cannot be one of the conditions. That cannot be part of the oath. And the Gemara says, Amri b'marava, they say in the West as follows, it's not necessarily true. Less hilchasa Rav Hamnuna. The halacha really is not like Rav Hamnuna. Meaning to say, Rav Hamnuna said a shomeres yavam shazinsa is also to the yavama. That's not true. Really, a shomeres yavam shazinsa, it's actually not prohibited to the yavama. So the problem then is, if the halacha is not like Rav Hamnuna, so what's the explanation of our Mishnah? How come in our Mishnah he's able to include within that oath, within the condition, that even when she's shomeres yavam? And the Gemara explains that lahadze katani shomeres yavam uknusa, when it says in our Mishnah that he's able to include within the oath that she didn't commit zinus while she was shomeres yavam, hamani Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah happens to follow the shita of Rabbi Akiva. That's a unique shita. Rabbi Akiva holds that kiddushin does not take effect in a situation where all that was transgressed was a lav. So it happens to be in this case when she's a shomeres yavam, if there was nus, so that's just a lav. But Rabbi Akiva's unique shita is that is enough to create that there cannot be a kiddushin. Umashvila ki erva. In general, Rabbi Akiva says anytime there's a lav, that's considered to be arayas. But as long as you're not following the shita of Rabbi Akiva, this would not be true. And the Gemara continues, Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah asks, Mao shiasna adam al nisuin harishonim. What's the halacha? Can a person include, let's say, something that happened in the first marriage? Or al nisuay achav, or let's say something that happened on the marriage with his brother? Mahu, what would be the halacha in that situation? Rashi explains nisuin harishonim means as follows: Kagon girsha ve'achzira v'kinei lo v'nistra. Let's say he divorced her, then he remarried her, then he warned her and she went into seclusion. So can he include what happened in his own first marriage with her? Or al nisuei achiv ma. What about in the marriage with his brother? Legalgels nus shetachas aviv. What that means is, let's say he wants to include any nus that happened while she was married to his brother. The hadatanan v'masnisan arusa unasua shomeres yavam ukanusa lav bechada itasakai. Because we had a number of cases in the Mishnah. We had a case of arusa and nesua, and we had a shomeres yavam and kanusa. Those are two separate women. The arusa and the nesua is a regular married woman. Shomeres yavam and kanusa is talking about a woman who's now with her brother-in-law after doing yibum. So those are two separate cases. Sheashkena yavam. So now the second question over here of al nisuay achiv is, let's say the brother-in-law is giving her to drink. The ashbiena al ha'erisin v'nisuin shalachiv, and now he's saying that I want you to take an oath also on when you were married to my brother before. And again, the way you understand the Mishnah is it's separate statements. If the husband is the one giving her to drink, so then he's allowed to include the Erisin and the Nesuin. And then if it's the Yavam, so Masna Ima Shomeres Yavam Ukanusa, then he can include when she was Shomeres Yavam and when she was actually married to him. And so now they're asking, in the case of a regular situation of a husband, can he include, let's say, a previous marriage that he had with that same woman? And in the case of a Yavam, is he able to include what happened while she was married to his brother? And so the Gemara continues, Tashma, come in here a proof from the following. Za'aklal, the rule is as follows. Kol shetiboel velote asura lo lohaya masna ima. It says any time where the act of relations will not create a prohibition to him, so then he can't include that. Ha'asira hachanami demasa, but anytime it does create a prohibition, then that could be included. And in these cases, there actually would be a prohibition if there was adultery. Let's say in a case of Yibam, when she was with her original husband, with the brother, so then that would create a prohibition. And the same thing would be true. Let's say there were two marriages to the same person. So if she had committed znus while she was the first time she was married to this individual, that would also create a prohibition to the individual. And so therefore the Gemara says again, hachanami demasna shma mina. So you see that you could include this in terms of the oath. You are allowed to include the nisuin harishonim, and you can include nisuei achiv. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Meir Omer Amen Shalon Etmesi V'chulu. Rabbi Meir said, not only is the Amen including in the past tense that she didn't commit adultery, it's also including in the future. She's saying that she will not do so in the future. The Gemara says, Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, Lo Kashamer Rabbi Meir Amen Shalo Etma she'im titma mayim bodkin osam achshav. When Rabbi Meir says that she's saying amen, that in the future I will not be defiled, it doesn't mean that if that should happen in the future, then right now the water is going to test her. That's not what it means. What it really means to say is that when she becomes defiled in the future, mayim ma'arin osa uvod kanosa, the water will come up within her and it will test her in that situation. And Rashi explains, ma'arin osa means chozrun lolasoch grona, means it returns to her throat, ka'adam hanechnak al yedei mashka, like somebody who's choking on a drink. Nira ka'osa irir, it looks like somebody who's raising a protest. V'uloshan zaka shever yoeru, it's like the language of the pasuk. Pasuk says a cry of anguish they will raise up. And the Gemara continues, boy Ravashi asks the following question, Ma'u sheyasna adam al nisuin ha'achronim. What is the halacha in terms of a person making a condition on a later marriage? Hashta miyolo asirale. Maybe you'll say right now it doesn't create a prohibition to him. Or Dilmar, maybe zimnin de megarish love hadar mahadrla. Maybe there will be a situation where he divorces her and then he remarries her a second time. So can he make a condition that she will not commit adultery on that second marriage to him? And the Gemara says, Tashma, coming here, a proof from the Mishnah, Hakol Shavin, it says, everyone agrees, Shelo Yamasna Imo Lo Al Kodem Shetesaris. Everyone agrees he cannot make any condition with her on anything that happened before the Erisin. Velo Al Achar Sheteskarish, and not on anything that happened after they divorce. Nistra Le'echad V'nitmis, let's say she goes into seclusion with someone and she's defiled between the two marriages. V'achar Gachiach Ziren, and then he goes ahead and remarries her. Lo Hayamasna, he's not able to make a Tanai on that eventuality. And so the Gemara says the implication of that is Hayach Zirena V'sitma, sounds like only if she's defiled in the interim. But let's say he actually remarries her and she's defiled at that point in time. Hachanami Damasni, it sounds like in that case he can include that in the condition. And the Gemara says Shema Mina, the Gemara says yes, indeed, you see from here that he is able to make a Tanai on the Nisuin Ha'achronim. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbon, and the rabbis taught, Zos Torahs Hakanos, this is the law of the laws of the jealousy. Melamed Shoisha Shosa Vishona, that teaches us that a woman can drink and then can repeat the same procedure. Let's say he has another suspicion later on, she can go through the process again. Rabbi Yehuda says Zos, it says in the pasuk Zos, She'ein Hoisha Shosa Vishona. It means to say the opposite. A woman is not able to drink and then repeat. She doesn't go through the procedure a second time. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda is elaborating on his opinion, there was an incident, and he testified in front of us, Nechunya, who digs the ditches, he said that a woman, she drinks and she can repeat, she can drink again. Now we accepted what he said only with regards, only if you're talking about two separate men, meaning if she has two separate husbands, so then she can have to repeat the procedure again. But that's not true if it's all one husband. So that's the opinion again of Rabbi Yehuda. If you're talking about a situation of Shnei Anoshim, you can have that she repeats, but not if there's one husband. The Chachamim say, Ein Hoisha Shosa V'shona, the woman does not repeat and drink again, Bein Be'ish Echad, Bein Bebeis Anoshim. Whether you're talking about a situation of one husband, whether you're talking about a situation of two husbands. And the Gemara continues, V'Tanakama Nami, but the Tanakama also, Haksiv Zos, doesn't it say Zos? Why does the Tanakama say that she can repeat, she can be made to drink again? It does seem to say Zos, that it can only happen once. And we can ask the same question the other way, for Rabbanan Basroi Nami, and also the latter Rabbanan, meaning the opinion of the Chachamim. At the end, the Chachamim say that she does not repeat, so Haksiv Toras, doesn't it say Toras? And then it seems to imply that she would repeat. So how do we understand how they interpret the Psukim? And the Gemara explains, Amar Rava says, the machlokas is as follows. When it comes to one husband and one adulterer, there's no machlokas whatsoever. Everybody agrees, and certainly in that situation, if you're talking about one husband and one adulterer, she's not going to repeat, she will not drink again. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yotes Amud Aleph.